Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a very special moment. It's called From Serve to Service. And we have a person, or rather a personality, who has been one of the movers and shakers of Retailers Association of India and organized retail in the country. He was the first employee of Shoppers Stop, and he was one of the founders and the chairman of the Retailers Association of India for several years. He is now chairman of TRRAIN. He is founder of TRRAIN, Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India, and he's chairman Shoppers Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. B.S. Nagesh. And to engage in conversation with Mr. B.S. Nagesh, we've got Mr. Bijou Kurien, chairman, Retailers Association of India. Over to Mr. Nagesh and Mr. Bijou Kurien.
So good morning, everybody. It certainly is both a privilege, pleasure, as well as onerous task to speak to Nagesh, more specifically about his book, but more importantly, about the journey that he's undertaken. When you think about modern retail in India, the name that immediately comes to your mind is Mr. Nagesh, and he's been the prime mover of trying to first create the Retailers Association of India, and I recollect that was efforts made from 96, 97 onwards. Then there were some challenges with the government in terms of taxation, so then the efforts kind of spurred into more decisive action. Been representing India, Hall of Fame at the World Retail Congress, recognition across several international industry fora, and several such very, very lofty qualifications I can give to him. But more importantly, it's about the way he's actually built Shoppers Stop, tried to inculcate the concept of retail amongst real estate developers in this country, tried to make sure that retail is seen as a honorable profession, because many people don't think of retail as an honorable profession or a vocation. So he's tried to create that. And then, of course, at very specific interval when he said that this has been my contribution to the retail industry, I'm now going to move into a non-profit role, which is trying to create diversity and inclusion amongst the retail employees when he set up TRRAIN. So there are several interesting faces that you will see in Nagesh's life and his journey. What I'd like to kind of do is, he's obviously captured a lot of this. It's taken a fair amount of effort, and I'm sure convincing also, to be able to put together all of this in the form of a book, to be able to then share with several others. If I were to look at, the number of people who walk through the portals of Shoppers Stop as employees, associates, etc., you'll probably be about 1.5 times the size of this hall. I mean, that's the kind of impact that Shoppers has created on the retail industry in this country. We have Kumar and people like that who are currently CEO of RAI, who are all Shoppers Stop employees. So in that sense of the word, I think when you think Shoppers, it is about thinking retail. So Nagesh, just to kick off this whole thing, and at a very personal level, when I went through the book, I noticed that there were several references to your father, whom you call Anna in the book. And there were several lessons that you seem to distill from your experiences with him. And there were, I can, go through and quote but since you've written, you certainly will remember. But it seems that your father played a very, very important role in your life and in shaping your thoughts and in actually, in a sense, also defining your own personal values. So, would you like to just reflect on that and say, what is the impact that your father made on you?
Thank you, Bijou, and thank you, RAI, for inviting me and giving this opportunity. Yeah, if you go through the book, there are multiple areas where my father influenced. But honestly, he didn't influence. I mean, most of the learnings I've had with him is the observations or the things that he did for me. So I just want to pick up three of them, which may be very, very interesting for business. The first was I was a very bad student, very bad student. I was a very good sports person. I almost flunked in my 11th. And we were only 11 students in our class. So when I almost flunked, I went back. I mean, the whole family declared me as the black sheep of the family because I was the only non-engineer, non-doctor in the family. So my father called me, saw my report card, and he said, how many students were there in the class? So I said, 11. He says, what was your ranking? I said, 8th. So he says, why are you looking that you are behind 7 people? Also think you are ahead of 2 people. Okay, the first learning that I got from him was, keep trying. Okay, failure is an outcome which people define as failure. But trying is a process which really helps you. That one big learning. The second thing, every time there was a problem in the house or anything that happened in life, he only talked about solution and never looked at the problem. So the second learning that I found is that anything that happens becomes a problem because of the way you look at the situation. It's a situation. Okay? If a situation happens, it's the way you look at it. So he taught me to look at the situation in a way that it never was problematic. It was always a solution. So that's the second learning that I had. The third thing which was very interesting was when he was 75, 76-year-old, he met with an accident and came to my house in Bombay recuperating. He saw a few people laughing in the park. So he went and met them and said, what do you do? He says, no, we are a laughter club. So he found out who's the founder of Laughter Club, Dr. Madan Kataria, went and met him. He went back to Bangalore when he was 76, 77, and started a club called Romeo, R-O-M-E-O. And the full form of Romeo was retired officers, men eating out, meeting and eating out. And he started a laughter club movement. When he passed away in 86, in 10 years' time, there were 1,000 clubs across South. So at 76, he starts and he creates a situation. He didn't spend a rupee. He didn't ask for a rupee. It was just a moment. So for me, Bijou, these are learnings which we can adopt in everything in life. Okay, an equivalent of Romeo is happening here. Okay, look at what RAI has done. It has brought millions of people together. The whole industry has got created. And exactly the same thing happens in our offices. You know, we meet, we work, we talk through the laptops and computers and go away. So we don't have any fun at all. But these are 3 learnings which are fabulous from my dad, other than many other learnings that I had.
Just to continue on that same learnings, and I think, sometimes experience and interactions distill into lessons. Lessons finally translate into values. And if I were to read one section in your book about the pillars of progress, where you mention rules center around concentrated power, where one person with authority dictates terms. Values, however, are principles or standards of behavior that empower everyone to take ownership and feel a sense of control. And then you go on in the book to describe values. And then you describe values not just in terms of platitudes, saying this is a good value, that is a good value, etc. But you actually describe it in the form of incidents and stories.
Yeah.
And then say that from these incidents, stories, and experiences that we've had, we have actually distilled values. So could you just describe a few
Yeah.
of the values
Yeah.
that help you to kind of enshrine in the foundations of Shopper Stop, which kind of serve like a moral compass for everybody in the organization?
Thank you, Bijou. I think this is the heart and heart of the book. And I must say, you read the book very properly. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, see, most organizations, when they start, they actually write, and most consultants you go, they tell you, do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? And have you written your value statement? And this is for organization where the founder has started. The challenge that is, it is the founder's value. And you start dictating the founder's value to the organization without asking the values of the people behind it. In Shoppers, because I was the first employee, I was the founding employee of Shoppers, the business was owned by the Raheja family. So they didn't give me anything, vision, mission, values, nothing, yeah? I mean, when we started together, we said, whatever we'll do the best, because there's nothing in this country to look at. So we just called ourselves as the people on the mission for doing nothing but the best. There are a lot of people from ex-Shopper Stop were sitting here. After a few years, from 91 to 95, when we opened the second store, then we opened the third store in 98. Some of us, Kumar was there, and some of us actually went and said, what is it that is making Shoppers click? You know, people talk about Shoppers, the first modern retail store in India. You know, Shoppers, the first modern retail chain in India with 3 stores. That is important, but not that important. Today, there are companies which are having 20,000 stores. We actually went and questioned. We spent 2 days in a resort to say, what is it that is making us tick? Then each one of us identifies areas and behaviors which actually said, you know, this behavior of ours ticks. So for example, we discussed the behavior that we do not take any gift from our suppliers, from our vendors. We ask our vendors to send us a box of sweets on Diwali, which can be shared with everybody. Now, this is a description of our behavior there. So we said, oh, our value is we will not take what is not ours. This is not ours. This is meant for the whole company, not meant for the CEO. Then our HR head got up and said, you know what, I have worked in other companies, but when I stand in front of you, actually I can talk to you and I can dissent, I can object, I can overrule what you have said. I mean, how does this happen? And then we said the value of dissent, you know, because which means that whether it's a CEO or a CEO, anybody, if somebody wants to say something which is not as per what you would expect, it is acceptable, okay? So this is the value that was formed. So like this, there are multiple values started. For example, the value of trust. So we said anybody who gets an appointment letter in the company and us, all of us trust 100%, 100%. But if there's a mistrust, we trust you 0%. I mean, this is a value of trust which was formed because many of them say, you know, I trust him 99%. No, you can't trust anybody 99%. You mistrust the person 1%. And this worst 1% will keep driving your back. So, Bijou, the multiple of these things started happening, and we actually recognized 10 such values. People talk about Shopper Stop culture. Please note that what is culture? I mean, culture is the outcome of the cumulative behavior of individuals in the company. That's all. And the individual behaviors of the company are driven by common values. If my value doesn't match my company, I will not exist there. So you need to have a bunch of people whose values are common, their behaviors are such that it is actually seen as a culture. A lot of people say, I'm starting a company, I'm going to form this culture. No, you can't describe culture. Culture is an outcome of behavior, and I think that is very important. So if you look at all the 10 values which are formed, they were formed out of our behavior, and a common behavior became our culture.
Yeah, and I remember one incident in your book where you talked about we have trust. That is, we implicitly trust, and if somebody makes a genuine mistake, we are willing to forgive. On the other hand, if somebody makes a deliberate mistake, then we are not willing to forgive. And I remember that incident. Maybe you can just highlight that incident.
Yeah. No, I think the best example is the promoters. This business was then and now also owned by the promoters, the Raheja group. But the true owner of the business is me. Okay, till the time the IPO happened in 2005, okay, everybody thought I am the owner. Because I behaved like an owner then and now. A lot of people called me when the IPO happened, BSN, you become so rich, thousands of crores. But firstly, very important is the ownership. I think people have to have very, very clear ownership. When the ownership happens, then you're willing to try and accept failures. If the ownership doesn't happen, okay, you don't do that. I mean, just an example. There may be some of you who have run family businesses. If your son fails, do you sack him? you actually appreciate his trial. But when an employee fails, you say he's not done well, you sack him. So which means you're distinguishing the ownership by shareholding. Shareholding is not an ownership. Owning the business is the ownership. So multiple trials that happen, genuine trials. It's mentioned in the book. Probably this is one of the few books where I have dedicated a full chapter on mistakes made. I think it so happened it became chapter number 13. That was not planned. Okay, and multiple mistakes. If you look at my mistakes, the total mistakes that I have done in the life of my journey in Shoppers Stop must be worth about 700 to 800 crores. 8 billion Indian rupees worth of mistake I have made probably, but I still existed in the company. And if you look at the last chapter where the promoters, Rahejas, have spoken something about it, they've actually mentioned saying that we allow trials to happen. And I think that is the biggest thing. When trials happen, you see success. And if you don't allow people to try and you start penalizing failures, people will stop trying. And if people stop trying, Bijou, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. The biggest example I must give you is what's happening here today. 15 years back, we tried a similar conference in this place. Okay, and it was a disaster. And look at what's happened today. 5,000 people have entered through. If there was a memory which was sitting in RAI to say, we failed 20 years back, why can we do it? This wouldn't have happened. And this is the classic example of what happens when you're willing to try and take out your memory of failures.
Great. All of us, when we think of building businesses, think of it from top line, bottom line, capital invested, etc. And especially in a retail business where, to a large extent, you're selling other people's brands and you're not selling so much of your own brands and products. But I remember you devoting an entire chapter in your book about building a brand. And in retail, a lot of us as retailers try to build businesses, but we don't build brands. So what caused you to think along the lines that you need to build it like, say, a Titan or a Tanishq, as opposed to building it like any other retail business?
So again, my own definition of brand is very different, at least the way I believe it. My belief is that brand is an outcome of a relationship that you build with a consumer. A lot of people believe that you build relationship with a consumer through the product. No. I mean, you don't buy a shirt. A shirt is a shirt is a shirt is a shirt. You actually end up buying a brand. Why do you buy a brand? Because the shirt that you wore was always appreciated by your girlfriend, wife, friends, whatever. Okay, so to me, that is the brand. For example, I'm telling you because this happened yesterday. I was in Delhi, Bharat Tech. I was going around the various stalls. I found a Kashmiri stall. And for the first time, I saw somebody who has done the Kashmiri weave on a jacket. I bought this. This is unbranded because this was a weaver who had done this. Since yesterday, people have asked me, where did you buy? But I don't have a name. So look at this. I have built a relationship with the product Bijou, but there's no name to it. Suppose if there was a name, I would have said so-and-so name. So it's all about building a relationship which actually leads to building a brand. And therefore, the moment you start building relationship with the consumer, the brand gets built. The moment you start building a relationship with the employee, the brand gets built. I'll give you one more example. It's a very strange example. I think it's mentioned in the book. I was sitting in my office in Andheri, and I get a call from a customer from the Andheri railway station, and she says, Mr. Nagesh, 2 of your employees are fighting on the Andheri station. They are like dogs and cats. So I said, but ma'am, what can I do about it? No, you have to come and sort it out. But I said, why should I come and sort it out? You know what she said? Mr. Nagesh, they are wearing your company uniforms. Look at what the customer is seeing. She is not seeing 2 people fighting. She's seeing a company's uniform, a brand being destroyed on a railway station. Now you will say, oh, the brand became very recognized. No. It was the relationship with the customer we got recognized. She became my owner of the brand. She was the custodian of brand. But today we believe that the CEO and the CMO is the custodian of brand. Boss, the CEO travels 3 days a year. The CMO never travels to stores. How can he or she be the custodian of brand? But when your customer becomes the custodian of brand, I mean, that's brand. And I think that's the way you need to build it up.
Lovely. Hyderabad, 5 a.m. in the morning, a telephone call. Could you just describe that incident?
Yeah. We used to always have landlines at home. And my wife always said that, you work 24/7. No, I didn't work 24/7. I was the least working employee in the company. But I was available 24/7. So I get a call at 5 a.m. in the morning from Hyderabad, the security in charge. And he called me to say, sir, the store manager has decided to open the store at 5 o'clock for one customer. Okay, but as a protocol, as a security officer, I have to take your permission. So I said, so it was Mr. BVM Rao. I said, go ahead and open it. Whatever happened, later on I heard the story. There was a board member from America who had come to actually attend a board meeting in Hyderabad, okay? And when she came for the board meeting, realized that her suitcase has not got delivered, 5 o'clock. The admin officer finds out who's the store manager of Hyderabad store. Calls up the store manager at night saying, we are in such a situation, can you help? And he says, bring the customer, we'll open the store for her. At 5 in the morning, they opened the store, one customer, and she shopped. She shopped, and went for the board meeting, a fabulous board meeting. It's unbelievable, one customer. But you know what happened after that? For 20 years after that, that company always bought their gift vouchers from only Shoppers Stop. If I take the value of gift vouchers, I could have opened the store for one customer for the whole year. I mean, look at what can happen. Again, Bijou, the relationship. This was not opened because it was that company which asked for it. No. Our store manager said, I need to help and serve one customer who is in distress. Okay, and look at what happened. So I think there are multiple examples like this. I must share one more example because this is very close to my heart. And the gentleman who was responsible for this, Mr. Raymond Kolako, passed away a month back. So this is very close to my heart. I was analyzing some numbers in Andheri's store. And I saw that a lot of customers are coming from New Jersey to shop for fabric and get their stitching done. Now, this was quite shocking for me. Andheri, one small store in the suburb of Mumbai, customers coming from New Jersey. So I love data, I love details, and I'm a very bad digger. Anything I get, I'll start digging into it. So when I dug, you know what I realized? In 1992, November, we sold 1 lakh worth of fabric to a customer and said, we'll get your garment stitched. 92, on the 6th December or something, the riot happened and Mumbai was closed. We were supposed to give the delivery to the customer on that night. The customer took the flight and went away to New Jersey. Mr. Raymond, who was a department manager at that time, called the customer and said, don't worry, I will ensure it reaches you. So he thought he'll put it in a Blue Dart parcel and it'll go to New Jersey. But when he went to parcel, they said, you can't export ready garments. You have to cut the buttons and send it. It has to be unfinished garment. So he said, how do I send? He went and met an Air India employee and said, you get free passes to go, international travel. Will you take this parcel and deliver in New Jersey and come back? Anyhow, it's free for you. I'll give you half the price of the ticket. So Mr. Raymond sent a full parcel worth 1 lakh to New Jersey and got it delivered on a one-on-one basis. That was our biggest order. So out of 1 lakh, I had given him 10% discount. So 90,000. Our total margin was 20,000 rupees. And this gentleman went and spent 16,000 rupees to deliver it in New Jersey. So we lost money on that. But after that, every Diwali, we used to have a set of people coming from New Jersey and buying lakhs and lakhs of worth of goods. Now, if Mr. Raymond had come and asked me for permission, probably I would have said no to it. I would have done some calculation, said no. But Raymond didn't ask me permission. And that is fabulous because he was an empowered person. He went and did something which is great for the customer. So I think organizations are built out of these incidents. Now, I can tell you a story. We were restricted for 50,000 words, so I had to restrict it. I can write a book on stories. None of the stories will be because of me. Every story will be because an employee, an associate did something which is unbelievable. So I always request companies and CEOs, please discover stories in your own company. There are human stories which can build your brand, organization. There are stories which can help you build profits. If I had time, I would have told you that story also. But that's what the organization is built of. And the reason why I've said Shoppers built with a heart is because it is the ticking heart of each of our employees which actually builds an organization. And it is very evident. Go back and look at it. You'll find it in your organization.
Just to continue on the same, and I think taking up from what you mentioned about the Rahejas. Uh, Historically, for the last 30 odd years, everybody's associated you with Shopper Stop. You know, whether it's in terms of the experiments, the formats, the decisions on IT, the decisions on where to set up stores, all of these. Uh, and on the other hand, you know, a few know that the Rahejas actually own it. So what is the relationship between, say, the promoters? And I noticed that there was a chapter in the book, which is the last chapter, which is actually the promoters talking about you in your book. And obviously that means a lot. So, but at an operating level, since you continue to be associated, you've taken over from SLS chairman, and you've been the MD all this time. So what was the relationship? Because you also described in the book several incidents where you just mentioned about 800 crores being lost. There were decisions made on IT which didn't pan out. Uh, Typically, you also questioned why didn't the promoters sack you in the book. So how do you actually describe your relationship between you and the promoters?
I know there are a lot of family owners sitting in this room. It's a very unique relationship, very unique. I don't have a basis of what went into their mind for this relationship. Don't forget, I was a 30-year-old, 31 at that time. I had never come to Mumbai. Out of a dream of mine and a pagalpan or madness, I joined this company because the owners had a 50,000 square feet store, and my dream was to set up a 50,000 square feet store in this country. That was the only dream I had. I don't know what made them give the keys to me and trust me. I still can't believe. I mean, I get goosebumps to just imagine. I mean, today people do ID-fying, do 100 kinds of ID checks. I don't know what they did. They did nothing. I just came in and I asked a fabulous salary of 10,000 rupees and they gave me. Okay, and I joined the company. So somewhere there was a building of trust face to face. I'm sure they must have checked on what was happening. We started getting employees. We started getting colleagues to join us. But they have been a strange kind of a promoter family. First of all, they're highly involved and highly informed. I mean, the information that they have, very few people with technology can have today. If I'm talking to Mr. Raheja on the fly, walking around, I don't know, he would take out a book from a pocket and write some note. And after 30 days, I'll get a call from his executive assistant. Mr. Raheja was asking about this discussion you had. I have forgotten because I was not making notes. I don't know how he used to make notes. So they were involved, they were informed. We had MIS right from day one. Every third Tuesday of the month, we used to meet. 31 years, the promoters have not missed a single meeting on a monthly basis. Once a month, it is documented, they meet. And that's all. And then they leave it to you to perform and do whatever you do. So there's tremendous amount of trust. So Bijou, when a founder, promoter, 100% shareholder of the company trusts you, there is zero reason for you to not trust your colleagues. Zero reason. Okay, so trust became a very strong value within the organization. Just before IPO, I think there are some of us who are sitting here who were party to it. We tried to implement a technology. The first ERP in Asia was implemented with us, with JDA. It didn't work. We had a problem, huge problem. From a profit-making company, right from beginning, we lost 26 crores in 99, 2000. I had gone and raised money. This is another important thing. We wanted money. Rahejas are rich. They told me, go and borrow from the bank or borrow from us. So I went to check up to borrow from them. They were charging 2% more than the bank. So actually, we took money from the bank. I think Kumar was the CFO at that point of time. And then we went and did private placement because I had to go and get money from private placement. We took money from private placement, and then this whole fiasco happened. And after many years, I was told by one of the CEO of the investing companies that he had met Mr. Raheja, the chairman, and asked him to sack me. Because, I mean, it was a fiasco. I still don't know. I put it in the book. I've also asked them. In fact, my co-author asked Ravi, I think in his promoter's view, he has mentioned, and he has mentioned, said if, this was Ravi Raheja, elder brother, saying if Neil would have done this, we wouldn't have taken an action. Now, that is amazing. No blood relations, trust, and tremendous, tremendous amount of trust. So when we were writing the book, we could not integrate the Raheja family because they're not there in the front. You know, you'll hardly see their photographs, hardly see their comment. They were reserved people, but they've done a fabulous amount of business growth they have done. So I didn't know what to do, so I asked my co-author Ritu to go and interview them. And then I took permission from them to say, I'll put it verbatim as it is. That's why you find that they are not mentioned in the book. But the last chapter, which says promoters' views, it was a little embarrassing, but they also praised me and all that. But that's the true, genuine view. So those of you who are promoters, those of you who run family businesses, whether you read the book or not, please read the last chapter, because it really shows the essence of trust on a professional. And that to me is amazing. And I can't express my gratitude to them for allowing me to do this. In fact, Retail Association of India, I tried in 1998, failed. 2000 failed. 2002 failed. 2005, I got a great partner in Ved Prakash Arya, who's no more there. Ved said, Nagesh, I'll join you, we'll do it together. And we were able to get together and actually create this. And somebody went and told Raheja, saying this guy is actually getting all competitions together. I'm meeting Noel Tata, Kishore Biani, all competitors to set up an association. And they said, no, I think this is good for industry and good for our company. I mean, this is a very different set of promoters, but we have to believe in this kind of a thinking.
Role of your family. You know, I've seen Shailaja, Pooja Pallavi, all of them, you know, firmly behind you on every decision that you've taken, including your pivot, you know, when you decided to move out of an active job and to move into TRRAIN, or rather to set up TRRAIN. So how do you see the role of a family in actually supporting a professional's career?
Actually, if you honestly see, most of sitting here are men. It's unfortunate for a retail industry. Okay, actually, we should have had between 45 to 50% women sitting here. Since they are men, let me talk to you as a man. Okay, there are two big influences in our lives. And you can learn the best of retail from your mom or your wife who runs the kitchen. There is no just-in-time, there is no inventory management, there is no SKU management, which can be better than your mom or wife managing the kitchen. The second is, many a times they are silent sufferers, and I've been party to this. You know, because you work 12 hours, 14 hours, you don't give time to them and do all that. But the only difference that I found with us was that everything I did, they were fully involved, fully involved. So they were informed and involved about what I'm doing. And in that process, what happened was that, I mean, if I did something which was not to their liking, they were aware that they were party to the decision I have taken. I think that made a big difference, Bijou. And when you said about my pivot, when I stepped out at the age of 50 and said I'll start a charitable trust called TRRAIN, I mean, they were fully involved. I mean, very few people know that this process started when I was 45 years. I was the managing director of a listed companies. I went and told my board at the age of 45 that I'm going to step out at 50 because I want to change my life and I want to do some charitable work. And they said, everybody talks like this, nobody does it. But I actually challenged them. They allowed me to create a succession. Yeah? And I think that's important. Again, this is another important thing for the leaders. I mean, all of us, or any of us, or some of us can die tomorrow morning. Do you know how your business will run? Have you thought of it? Have you prepared your organization for this event? No. So to me, and as a CEO founder, we have to have a situation where we should be able to let go and provide succession at any point of time. Okay, so they allowed me at the age of 45. 5 years it took, and we had a successor. Govind took over from me. And company has existed. After that, there have been 2 CEOs. The company has existed. Okay, we may not have done fabulous valuation or whatever, but we existed. We love our customers. We love our employees. They love us. So I think that is very, very critical for the family. As an anecdote, when I decided I'll step out at the age of 50, my mother-in-law, who was then in her 80s and she's no more, she called me and said, I only want to ask you one thing. You have 2 daughters. Don't you think it would have been better if your daughters get married saying she is the daughter of managing director of Shoppers Stop rather than saying she's the daughter of ex-managing director of Shoppers Stop? So these were the social issues which happened around that. But otherwise, the family is fully involved. My elder daughter, both the daughters work in the charitable trust. The elder one still continues to work. So as a family, we are a very, very happy family. It's also because we strongly believe that we won't leave anything back. Everything is taken away, we are burnt. And also that, I mean, for us, our needs are very limited needs. So this has helped us develop and have a very nice life.
Great. You know, we could have gone on. I was wanting to ask you about what do you think will happen in retail in the years ahead, but unfortunately, that's maybe another book for you to think about what will happen in retail in the future. Time's up, but thank you very much, Nagesh, for sharing so freely, without any inhibitions, both in your book and especially the stories that you picked out from your book and the story behind the story, if I were to use that particular word. So thank you once again. Nagesh has got a whole bunch of books which I hear. If you want to get it personally autographed, signed by the legend, please do so by coming up here. Don't forget to pay for the book anyway. So we leave that to a little later after this session is over. So thank you once again, Nagesh. Thank you all.
I must tell you this. My publisher told me you like to talk, but please understand you're also supposed to sell the books. Okay, so after the next session, when we break, I'll be sitting outside, okay, and would love to sign the book for you if you're interested. But thank you so much. Thank you, Bijou. I love the conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Can we have a huge round? Can we have a standing ovation, Mr. B.S. Nagesh? And I request Mr. Bijou Kurien to kindly present Mr. B.S. Nagesh a memento as a token of our love, gratitude, and appreciation. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nagesh has told me that he would like to attend our next session, which is really, really very important. So he'll be sitting in here for the next session. After the next presentation is over, he will move out. And you can purchase the books. There's a counter outside. Okay, you can purchase it after the session's over. It is $5.99, I believe. And there is no discount, no offer. The offer is Mr. Nagesh's personal autograph on that book, because all the proceeds from that book are going to TRRAIN, that's Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India.